Sleepless nights alone in our bedroom. You said one thing and did another, didn't you? Know this, I refuse to be blue.
Frosted Flakes, man. I think if anybody can bring me back to my childhood, it's probably Tony the Tiger himself.
You know it's true. The shame is on you.
There's a lot of information on the internet, especially on YouTube, on the technical side of photography, tips on like everything from lighting to composition, all the way down to the most basic things of how to use a camera. And sorry if you hear my neighbors having a party across the street right now. And all that information, it's all good stuff, but it's already kind of all out there, and it's all out there abundantly. But what's harder, in my opinion, is not being able to absorb that information and go out and make a technically good photo. You can do that, but what makes a photo go from being good to being one that's memorable and one that you want to keep coming back to over and over again? It's that intangible feeling that you can give people. So how can we create this feeling, and how can we be more consistent in it over and over and over again? Because it's a lot harder to go from being good to being great. It's way easier, in my opinion, to go from being bad to being good. That's a pretty easy jump.
You know it's true.
Now, when it comes to filmmaking, I'm not going to say that it's easier to create feeling in video, but you definitely have more options. And as a matter of fact, you have double the options, because in video you appeal to 2 of the 5 human senses, both sight and sound. In photography, you just have the visual, so you're limited in that way. An easy example of this is if you take video clips and add a sad song, you evoke a sad emotion for the viewer. Take your video clips, add a happy song, you evoke a happy emotion for the viewer. So a lot easier in that way to create a feeling. And that's just talking about music. We're not even mentioning sound design, color grading, and all other things that can help create a mood and an atmosphere in video. That's why I say it's just a little bit more challenging to do it in photo.
Don't try to deny it. You know it's
Now, all this to say, I'm not like bashing all the technical side of photography. All those things are like prereqs. Like those things are things that you need to know in order to have a baseline of being able to go out and make these photographs. 2 of the biggest things that I work on constantly and that I focus on right now is both lighting and composition when it comes to the technical side of shooting. And so I want to break down this image a little bit more because it's one that I keep coming back to. It just has a little bit different feeling than some of the other ones that I've had. It might not to you, but it does to me. And for lighting on this one, it was a cloudy day, but it wasn't like dark, moody cloudy. It was just kind of a nice diffusion over the sun and more light and airy. And it just made the lighting just really good that day. So kind of got lucky with that. And then for the composition, I'll compare it to this other photo that I took. Same subject, same time of day. I just don't like it near as much. I don't like the wide angle. When I went and got the closer shot on the corner of the car, it just made it way better. So simplifying the subject made a big difference in this composition. I also don't think I would have liked it if I would have shot it like straight on into the grill. Turning to that angle and making it more 3-dimensional, almost like you could reach out and touch it. For me, that's always the goal in composition, is to try to make everything look more 3D. Shadows and highlights have a lot to do with that, and they also have a lot to do with creating a feeling. And then when it comes to the edit, we can make it even better. Many people have said that photography is art and art is subjective, so there's always going to be people that don't like what you do, but at the same time there's always going to be people that do like what you do. Different people like different things. So with that in mind, of course, these aren't like blanket universal fixes for every single photo that you ever edit. These are just some thoughts that I've had. We're going to look at contrast, color temperature, and maybe the most important thing, especially in black and white photography, which is dodge and burn. So with our contrast, I'm going to look at shadows first in black and white. And I'm actually going to lift the shadows just a little bit to kind of save the detail in there, because I'm about to manipulate the blacks right here. And I always like to go all the way down and just crush it, and then come back up till I get to a spot that I like and see where that is. I want to save these details and these reflections and things like that. It's pretty cool. It creates depth. So we can just kind of look at what we've already done here. Contrast is one thing that can definitely affect the mood and feeling of a photo. You can go dark and heavy, or you can go more light and airy even when there's no color in your images, depending on how you want to treat your highlights and shadows. So for me, I like to keep it nice and simple. I do like deeper, darker shadows, but not crushed, because it does create more depth. So we can just play around with it a little bit. I'm gonna bring my highlights down just to save the detail again, and I can always bring my whites back up until I get a good looking contrast that I like. You can start to see some of the detail being lost in the clouds up here if you take it too far, but the good thing is the clouds aren't the main subject. The car right here is, so I'm not too worried about that, and we'll just get to a place where we like it and it looks good. After contrast, I'll look at my color temperature, even in black and white. This really can affect the mood. Warm gives a more, warm and happy feeling or mood, and cooler color temperatures can kind of give a more sad or moody look depending on what you're going for. So I always like to warm them up just a little bit. Of course, you can go too far one way or the other, but I'll do it very subtly. I'm going to put it on 2 right there. It just gives a little bit of a hint of warmth. 2 things come to mind when I think about film. One, in cinema film, it does tend to have more of a warmer tint to it, so it kind of gives that more of a film look that we're used to seeing, that's pleasing to the eye. And the second thing is old prints, the older that they get, tend to get this more yellowy look. That's not on purpose. People try to preserve them a little bit better, but it still kind of just brings back that little feeling there, a little feeling of nostalgia of days of old. Now down to the most important thing in black and white. This is an ancient technique that's existed as long as photography has existed. So if you think that editing film photos is like the worst thing that you can do to them because you want to keep it pure, well, Ansel Adams did it. Okay, dodge and burn has been done for a long time, way before computers ever existed. Granted, it was done in a different way, but still they were edited. And many students believe that this is what made Ansel Adams the legend that he is today, while his photos are still around and seen as like the epitome of black and white film photography. So with dodge and burn, I don't want to do too much. We can look at lightening and darkening. I'm going to bring the strength way down because you can always go back to it. We're going to start with lightening it first, and I just want to play on what's already here. So you can see this part of the car, it'll make it more three-dimensional. It's already light, so I'm just going to use what we already have, and I can lighten this. And this side of the windshield, it goes from light to dark over here. So I'm just gonna, again, just play to what we're already working with and get that good little gradient right there. We're trying to make it more three-dimensional, trying to give it a little bit more contrast subtly. And then when we come to darken right here, again, I want to bring the strength way down, and we can use what we already have, the side panel of the car where it's darker. Underneath here, that's not important information. We can start to darken that out. It's already really dark under here, and we can start to get rid of some of that stuff just so that our car, the subject, pops a little bit more, and really just playing around with it until you get something that you like that looks good. Last thing that I'll do that I just thought about, I get a brush size about the size of the headlight right here, and kind of just fill that in and make it lighten. Just kind of gives a cool look and the illusion that the headlight is lit up as our eye would expect it to be. So you could spend hours, playing around with the dodge and burn and making it look just a little bit better. The next time you go out to shoot, just kind of can keep these things in mind, just to be able to get more of these memorable photos rather than just technically good ones.